that's my opinion. I have no insight on that from anybody in his camp or anybody in Edmonton's camp.
Yeah, nor do I, Jamie. And again, you watch it. I mean, he's wired to win. Right? You've heard me say this previously. You know, like the Edmonton Oilers have been in the Stanley Cup final the last 2 seasons. We know how great McDavid and Draisaitl are, and we all say it. I think they're greater than I've even given them credit for, because they've dragged that team deeper than I thought they're capable of going, just because of those 2 guys. And then inevitably what ends up happening, and this is where Connor's experience, I think, right now is really playing in to his thinking, is he knows where they're short. He knows as a player where they're short. I mean, you look at last year, I mean, they just felt, I mean, they were never winning a game at the end of regulation in the 6 games versus Florida. LA had them on the ropes and let them off the ropes. I think that Connor knows very well what he feels they need to do to become a Stanley Cup winning team.
But how does he start his checklist, Craig? Like when does he start saying, okay, that's what I wanted, that's better than, because he obviously doesn't have it yet, or he would have signed.
I agree with you, Jeff, and that's exactly it. So why don't we go back to last summer? And I think that's where the mistake happened. Broberg, Holloway, Fogle, Ryan McLeod. They had the depth, they had the weight, they had the size, they had what you needed to do to push. They went all the way to Game 7, despite falling behind 3-0. And I think that Connor saw it, and I think that Connor is going, we don't have that anymore, and I don't think they do either. And that's why I give 29 and 97 such high accolades of being how great they are to get the team as far as they can get them.
Yeah, and that does seem to be a pretty consistent conversation or debate. You know, have the Oilers done enough for him in 10 years? Yet, you know, I agree with your assessment. The 2 of them are so great. They've kind of dragged them there, but they have gotten to 2 Cup finals. Game 6 and Game 7. Like, if you're the owner, forget the GM, the president. Those guys have come and gone over the decade. Cates
throw
has
that
been
back
there.
at his face.
Yeah, Cates has been there since day 1. He's probably like, hey, you know, you got Game 7 and Game 6. I mean, it's not like we're a lottery team every single year.
No, you're not. But when you're like, Connor's got a single-minded focus. I mean, so he's won the 4 nations. Whatever you want to put weight into that. His next goal is the Olympic gold medal. And then the Stanley Cup is the ultimate for Connor McDavid. I think what's fascinating, and fascinating might not be the right word, but interesting, is Connor McDavid is looking at this. He knows he's a top player. He knows he knows how great he is too. But he knows that there will be a little bit of tarnish on his greatness without a Stanley Cup. It's just the way it goes.
Yep.
And he doesn't want tarnish on his reputation.
No, 100%. Yeah. He's a hockey historian like everyone else that loves the game, that's played the game. He knows he's got to get one, and he's been right there. That's what's probably so frustrating, is they've been in back-to-back Cup finals, and he's not going to pull a Durant and go to Florida. I don't believe that's going to happen. I don't think he's just going to walk over there for a 1 or 2 year deal and try to pull off a cup or 2 and then, you know, take his talent somewhere else. So it's a big decision. And yet you look at, you know, the way the season sets up, everyone's technically tied in first place right now. And, you know, Florida's clearly the pace car.
Love that one.
It's such a great line. We're all tied.
Everyone, yeah, we're all at first.
Tied in first place right now. Although it's technically tied last, too. You could, I guess, argue that. But how big of a gap do you see between Florida and the rest of the contending teams?
I think there's a little bit of a gap. I don't think you can say there's not a gap, just because what they've done the last 3 years, Stanley Cup final all 3 years, back-to-back Cup champions. But I don't think it's a wide gap. I think that everything that they have the ability to do is still in place. But other teams have improved their lot in life too. And I look at the Vegas Golden Knights. I look at the Colorado Avalanche. I think they're more than capable. Tampa Bay, Paul Maurice said that might have been their toughest series last year. Whether you believe Paul Maurice or not, he's the one that said it. I think Tampa Bay is a really good team. Can Washington replicate what they did last year? I'm not so sure about that. But those are the teams right now, the 2 Florida teams, Vegas and Colorado, that I would put just a notch above everybody else. And Florida holding the top spot. Those next 3, wherever they're at. Now there's got to be a proving grounds, obviously. We'll see where it goes. But right at this point in time, with everybody being tied for first place, I've separated those 4 teams.
Craig, it was, I think, a players poll that came out recently or was talked about in the media tour. The players were saying they would love the old format, the 1 versus 8 in the playoffs. I mean, we haven't talked about it yet, boys, but I would love to see it. I don't know how you feel on it, if the league is just too stubborn in certain situations. They feel like they've had good matchups, but would you like to see maybe a different format in the playoffs, either expanded or just even change up to go 1 versus 8 instead of seeding within your division?
Yeah, like the expansion. I mean, there's so many different opinions on expanding the playoffs. I mean, we have an 82, about to be an 84 game regular season. I don't know if we need more teams to do play-ins. I think that the top team in a conference should get rewarded with the opportunity to play the lowest seeded team. I know what division is, and I know what it's done, but I'd like to see 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7. I think that rewards teams to a little bit greater extent going into the playoffs for having a really good regular season. And for that reason is why I'd like to see 1 versus 8.
With Craig Button, so Bill Guerin spoke on the Kaprizov situation today. And
what's he saying?
Well, he said, hey, we're trying. Like to paraphrase, he said, we're trying.
When's that going to be a trying to screw you?
Well, I guess, Craig, you can answer that one for us. When does it flip? Because Bill Guerin, I don't think of Bill as like a cool, calm, and collected guy all the time. How do you see this one playing out with Kaprizov in Minnesota?
Well, a couple of things. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna do a little bit of rewind here with history. Bill Guerin was on the New Jersey Devils in 1995 when they won the Stanley Cup. And Bill Guerin, the reason he left the New Jersey Devils was that he got into a contract dispute with Lou Lamoriello. Lou Lamoriello said, "You're out of here." I mean, Billy was a really good player. Nobody's knocking Billy. I mean, he believed in what he believed in, and that's Billy Guerin to a T. I mean, he's not going to back down. They got Jason Arnott in New Jersey, and they won another cup. So there's nothing wrong with what happened there. But Billy knows when players dig their heels in, what it's like, and I think having that experience will help him. I think the biggest challenge for Billy was when the owner came out and said, "Oh no, we feel really confident we're going to get this done." And I've been in negotiations where you come to that, "Oh yeah, we're going to get this done," and you realize, "Whoa, we might be a little bit further away than we thought." And "Oh, we're going to get this done. We're going to offer them $16 million for 8 years," and you think that's the high bar, and the agent goes, "No, I don't think so." I think
what the hell is the number if that's not the number, Craig? Like, God.
Well, you're right about the number, Jeff, but I think it's about term. I think it's one of two things. He wants a shorter term at near that number, or he doesn't want to play in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the fear. If it's the latter, then it gets into, there's certain markets that fight this all the time. That you don't want to become the market where players don't want to be, or you can't attract superstars, you can't keep superstars. And unfortunately, Minnesota's kind of got that reputation. That's why it just feels so important for them to find a way to get this done.
Well, if they don't get it done in terms of signing him, then they got to do what the Quebec Nordiques did when they traded Lindros. Lindros said, "I'm not going to Quebec." And they went and got a whole bunch of really good young players. And I think you go to Kaprizov and his representatives and you say, "Hey, listen, we know you have a no move or no trade, whatever he's got. I'm not totally up to speed on what the exact details of it, but work with us. We'll get you to where you want to get to, but we need to work for our future here." And again, if a player says he doesn't want to play there, look what happened to Columbus. They had Bobrovsky and they had Panarin. They were a pretty good team. They made the playoffs. They had some promise there, and then all of a sudden, Panarin and Bobrovsky